This video illustrates the creation and use of variables within a bash shell. A variable is a storage location within RAM allocated to the process. When you run a program or a process, it is allocated a certain amount of memory within the computer. Data can be stored in this memory, and the way we do that is by storing that information by creating a variable. It's very easy to create a variable. All we have to do is define a name for a variable. And that name can be anything. Let's use, say, the weather. Okay, the weather is the name that I'm going to store it in. And like a file name would be for storing a file. The difference between a file and a variable is a file is stored on the hard drive. A variable is stored in RAM. Okay. To store something, we can say weather, and let's say we can say it's sunny. Okay. We have now stored the information or the word sunny into the variable named weather. We can now use this variable in another command. So what we can do is we can type echo. Echo just sends a string to standard out, okay, or to the output. So as you can see, when I typed echo, whatever I typed here just went to the output, or was just displayed back to my terminal window. However, if I use a $sign and say write a string such as it is $weather, okay, what will happen here is that the variable weather will be read, and the data inside a variable will replace $weather. So what we see here is this $sign is a very special character which tells the shell that it's to go out into RAM and look for the variable named weather and bring in the data stored within that memory location. So when I run this, we now see that the output is it is sunny outside. Okay. Now since it's a variable, that just by its very name implies that we can change that. Okay, and so what we can do is we can simply type the name of the variable and set it equal to some other information. And now if I just recall that same command using the up arrow keys, I can recall my previous command, and we can see that now it is saying, hey, it is raining cats and dogs outside. Okay, so the information, the string, is stored in RAM. The $sign is an instruction to the shell to tell the shell to go look for the variable and bring out the data that was stored in the variable, whether it's sunny or raining cats and dogs, and replace that information with the $variable name entry. And then it actually executes the echo command, sending this entire string with the substituted data out of RAM to the output, in this case just standard out, our terminal window. Okay. Now since variables are stored within RAM inside of the current process, if you exit the current process or log out of the system, you will lose the information stored there, because once that process is finished, the memory is released back to the operating system so that it's available for another process. So this data is very tentative. It only lasts as long as your shell, or even less than that if you come along and change it. However, that being said, variables are very convenient because RAM is much faster than a hard drive. So if you only have a little bit of information, such as a few lines of text, you can very easily store those within RAM inside of your process. If you have gigs and gigs of information, it's obviously not feasible to put that information into a variable. At that point, we would have to store it in a file, which is covered in another video. So again, this video just illustrated the creation and use of variables in a bash shell. Now before we finish though, I'll just go back to my weather equals sunny, and I just want to show you that you can use variables anywhere in a file. If we echo something greater than $sunny or $weather.out, what will happen here is that we've created a file sunny.out. And so if I cat that file, we can view the file. Okay, so we can see that we can use the variables anywhere in a command line. It doesn't have to just be with the echo command. It was just convenient to use the echo command. If I, on the other hand, if I type on the command line the very first thing, $weather, what happens, the very first thing on the command line must be a command. However, because of the $sign, I'm telling the shell to go out, find the variable weather, and replace it with what is stored there. Well, I just stored the word sunny in there. And so what it's going to try to do is execute a command sunny, which of course it tells me is not found. Okay. On the other hand, if we stored in the variable a valid command like ls minus l, or well, we'll just say ls, okay, and then if I type $weather, it'll actually run the ls command, and we can see here is the list of files in the present working directory because ls is a valid command. Okay, so by typing $weather, if weather actually contains the string ls, since it's the very first thing on the command line, it actually gets executed as a command. So again, the point is that once we've stored this information in a variable, we can use that information anywhere within a command line. We can say $weather minus L, the long option, on the file etc host, and we can get it to list an entirely different file. Or we could add several different files. We could say, well, let's list /var/log/messages. And so we look at hosts and messages. Notice they're both in different directories, but by putting them both on the command line after the command, we pass those to the command. Now in this case, the command is $weather, which is telling the shell, go up to RAM, find out what information is stored in this variable called weather, and recall that. And since it's the first thing on the command line, what we're actually doing is typing ls and then -l var log messages. Okay. Remember that the command line, or the shell, is a command interpreter. So when we type something on the command line, it's the job of the shell to interpret what we type and convert that into commands that are executable by the system.